The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with the echo of voices, layered one upon another, like a storm of whispers bouncing off tall stone walls. Thousands of alien leaders from every corner of the galaxy sat in their shimmering seats, their eyes glowing with suspicion, fear, or boredom. For most, this was just another meeting, another debate about trade, about borders, about small conflicts that no one really cared about. But today, something different was waiting. When the Supreme Speaker banged his silver staff on the ground, the noise fell into silence. All members turned their eyes to the center, where one ambassador rose slowly. His tall figure was wrapped in golden robes and his skin gleamed like molten metal. His name was Zorthan of the Carrick Dominion, a proud and ruthless species known for ambition. Zorthan's voice was cold but sharp, like a blade cutting air. "Council members, I bring forward a proposal," he said, pausing so that every ear leaned closer. "A proposal to strike at humanity." The chamber froze. Even the air seemed to stop. Thousands of alien eyes blinked in shock. Some hissed, some muttered, some gasped aloud. One elder leaned forward, his scaled lips trembling. "Strike at humanity? Have you lost your senses?" The words hung like fire in the air, and the silence that followed was heavier than stone. Humanity, the young species from a blue planet at the edge of the spiral arm. They had only begun their climb into the stars. They were newcomers, fragile and small compared to the old empires that filled the galaxy. And yet, their name carried weight, a strange weight, one made of both fear and respect. Zorthan did not flinch. His eyes glowed, his voice grew louder. "Yes, humanity. They grow too fast. They spread their ships faster than any other young race before them. They study war as if it is in their blood. If we wait, they will become a danger to all of us. We must strike now before they rise." A wave of protests shook the hall. Alien leaders shouted, some slammed their claws on their desks. Some laughed as if he had told a joke. Others looked pale, remembering old warnings. From the back of the chamber, an elder of the Threlly stood up. His body was thin as bone, his eyes deep with age, his voice cracked but strong. "Do not provoke humans," he warned. "Their history is filled with blood. I studied their records. Their wars lasted not for days but for centuries. They destroyed each other with fire from the skies, and still, they endured. They never surrender. Never." But his words were met with scoffs. Some younger leaders rolled their eyes. A lizard-like general hissed, "Old myths and shadows. Humans are weak. They have no empire, no council seat, no allies, only Earth, a single fragile world." Yet beneath the noise, a thread of unease spread. Everyone in the chamber remembered at least one story about humans. Tales whispered by explorers. Rumors spoken by traders. Humans who fought beasts larger than their ships. Humans who survived poison worlds. Humans who laughed even in despair. Zorthan raised his hand, silencing the chaos. "Listen to me. I do not speak of myth. I speak of danger. Even now, they build ships in orbit, hidden yards above their world. Faster ships, armored ships, ships designed for war. My spies have seen them." Gasps broke out again. Some aliens whispered nervously. Others clenched their fists. Was it true? Were humans secretly preparing for war? The Supreme Speaker, tall and robed in silver, raised her voice. "Ambassador Zorthan, do you bring evidence?" Zorthan smiled slowly. His words dripped like venom. "Not only evidence, but warnings. My dominion has intercepted human transmissions. They prepare strategies. They speak of defense against invasion. They expect us to come." The chamber rumbled again. For some, the thought was laughable. Humans preparing for the mighty council fleets? Madness. For others, the thought was chilling. If humans already suspected an attack, then any strike would not be surprise, it would be war. From a dark corner, another ambassador whispered to his neighbor, "Strike humanity? That is no strategy. That is insanity." Yet in the eyes of some, a dangerous light flickered. Ambition, greed, fear. The debate tore the chamber apart. Some shouted for restraint, some shouted for blood. The old warnings echoed but were drowned under the clash of voices. In that storm of words, one truth settled deep like a shadow. Humanity had become the center of fear. The council was stunned, divided, and though no decision was made yet, one thing was clear: something had been unleashed. The proposal to strike humanity was not forgotten. It had taken root, and the galaxy itself would tremble because of it. The chamber of the Galactic Council was still trembling with whispers from the shocking proposal. Many alien leaders had risen to their feet, pacing, arguing, pointing their claws and hands at one another. The name of humanity echoed again and again, louder than any other subject in the room. At last, the Supreme Speaker raised her silver staff once more. Silence pressed down on the chamber. All eyes turned to the high platform where the elder of the Threlly, the ancient scholar who had spoken earlier, was allowed to continue. His frail form looked almost too weak to stand. His skin sagged, his breath rattled, but when he began to speak, his voice carried like thunder. "You laugh at old shadows," he said, his gaze sweeping across the crowded chamber. "But I have studied their records, I have seen their wars, do you not understand? Humans are unlike us, unlike any race in this council." The younger delegates shifted uncomfortably. Some rolled their eyes, but others leaned closer, curiosity battling with arrogance. The elder spread a bundle of glowing tablets across his desk, flicking them open with a bony claw. Images appeared in the air, floating above the council chamber. Burning cities, skies filled with fire, seas turned black with smoke. "These are not myths," he said. "These are their own histories. They slaughtered each other for land, for pride, for faith, for reasons so small they are laughable. And yet, when the flames consumed them, when the bombs cracked their world, they rebuilt again and again. Not once did they break, not once did they bow." The council chamber grew uneasy. No one could look away from the floating images. For some it was terrifying, for others it was ridiculous. A sharp voice broke the silence. It was Vekor, a hawk-faced admiral from the Cathar clans. His feathers bristled as he hissed, "Enough of this fear-mongering. They fought themselves, yes, but what of it? They nearly destroyed their own planet. That is not strength, that is stupidity. Why should we fear a species too foolish to avoid self-destruction?" Several delegates nodded and tapped their desks in agreement. The sound grew like rain. The elder's eyes narrowed, his voice hardened. "You do not see, do you? That is their strength. They destroy themselves and still rise stronger. They have mastered survival through pain, through fire, through death itself. Strike them, and you will learn this truth. Too late." A hush followed his words, but Zorthan of the Carrick Dominion rose again, his golden robe shimmering under the chamber lights. His voice was calm, smooth, and deadly. "Council members, do not be blinded by tales of savages. Yes, they fight fiercely, but so do many species. What matters is power, fleets, numbers, and humanity has none of these. They are but one world, one small outpost of life. Our fleets could crush them before they could even cry out." The room shifted again, as if the crowd itself was a sea pulled by two tides, one of caution, one of arrogance. From the side rows, a small ambassador of the Solari race whispered, almost too quietly to hear. "They said the same once about the Dracor. They laughed, they struck first, and the Dracor burned 3 sectors before they fell. But no one listened to her. Her voice was drowned in the noise of clashing arguments. The Supreme Speaker tried to bring order, but the chamber was too divided. Some cried for restraint, some demanded preparation, and some, caught by greed, already dreamed of carving Earth into spoils. Meanwhile, deep in the council shadows, quiet deals began to form. Admirals leaned close to ambassadors. Generals whispered. Into translators' ears, ships could be moved, spies could be sent. Perhaps humanity was not a threat now, but soon. And the thought of striking first was like poison spreading. The Threlly elder sank back into his chair, his body shaking with frustration. His warning had been ignored, dismissed as the mutterings of an ancient voice clinging to fear. Yet his last words, spoken under his breath, were caught by those closest to him. "They do not understand. Humanity is not a flame you can smother. Humanity is fire itself. The more you strike, the brighter it burns." Those words never reached the council record, but they hung in the air, heavy and true. Across the chamber, Zorthan smiled. His proposal, had taken root. The doubt was spreading, but so was ambition. And as the council fell deeper into arguments, no one noticed the quiet messenger ship leaving the station, carrying news of the debate toward the stars, carrying the whisper of war straight to human ears. The old warnings had been ignored, and the galaxy would soon pay the price. Far from the noise of the Galactic Council chamber in the quiet orbit of Earth, shadows moved among the stars. Hidden inside black fields of dust and electromagnetic clouds, structures the size of mountains floated silently. To most scanners, they looked like fragments of rock or dead satellites. In truth, they were something far more dangerous, secret shipyards of humanity. Humans had learned quickly. They knew the galaxy was vast, filled with predators, empires, and councils that looked at them not as equals but as prey, so they worked in silence, building not just exploration ships but weapons, warships designed for the unthinkable day when aliens might come. Inside one hidden dock, a giant hull stretched across the void. Its sharp lines gleamed with steel, its cannons rested like sleeping beasts, its engines hummed with restrained fury. Painted across its side was a single word: defiance. Commander Elias Rourke stood on a platform overlooking the construction. His hands were behind his back, his eyes locked on the ship. He was not a politician, not a council member, he was a soldier, a man who had fought Earth's last great wars. He knew what fear meant, he knew what survival cost. Status? He asked without turning. A young officer saluted. Engines complete, rail batteries loaded, armor plating sealed. She will be space ready in less than 3 cycles, sir. Rourke nodded. A faint smile touched his lips. For years, humanity had pretended to be weak, to be slow. Their public fleets were small. Their records showed explorers and traders. But behind the curtain, hidden under false transmissions and dark space, humanity's true fleet was being born. And it wasn't just the Defiance. No, there were others. Ghost-class cruisers, Dagger, frigates, even prototype carriers. All of them designed to fight against enemies larger and stronger than humanity. All of them hidden from alien eyes. Back in the council halls, Zorthan's spies whispered of this secret fleet his dominion had sent cloaked probes near Earth, and the faint signatures they caught had already been twisted into fear. At first, many council members dismissed the reports. Impossible, they said. Humans do not have the resources. They are too new to the stars. But when more fragments of data arrived, radio silence zones, vanished freighters, mysterious engine trails, denial grew harder. In one private council chamber, a group of alien admirals gathered. The room was thick with tension. Holographic images of blurred human ships flickered on the table. They build in secret, hissed one reptilian general. They prepare for war. Why else would they hide their yards? Another, a tall insectoid commander, tapped his mandibles. They are cautious, perhaps they only wish to protect themselves. The reptilian's eyes burned. Or perhaps they wish to strike us first. The words spread like fire. By the time they reached the larger assembly, rumors had become truth. Evidence had become prophecy. Humanity's secret fleet was no longer a possibility. It was treated as certainty. Meanwhile, on Earth itself, workers labored in silence. Families whispered, in fear. Government spoke only in coded language. They all knew what the council did not understand. Humanity was not seeking war. Humanity was preparing for survival. Commander Rourke stood in the strategy room, watching maps of potential invasion routes. Projected above the table, red lines cut across space like claws aimed at Earth. He had seen the council debates. He had heard the arrogant laughter. He had also heard the warnings. Some counselors wise enough to fear humanity, others foolish enough to provoke it. They will come, Rourke said quietly, and when they do, we must be ready. His officers nodded. Some were afraid, some were eager, but all of them knew there was no other choice. Above them, in the cold silence of orbit, the Defiance shined brighter. Her cannons gleamed, her armor sealed tight. She was no myth, no rumor, she was real. Proof that humanity was ready to face giants. And yet, in the council, arguments only grew louder. Some leaders still mocked the idea, calling it paranoia. Others began shifting fleets, preparing silently for a first strike. The division widened, fueled by ambition, fear, and the poisoned words of Zorthan. But no one could deny the feeling that something unseen was waiting in the dark, a power not yet revealed, a fleet that was more than metal, more than ships, more than weapons. It was humanity's answer to the galaxy, and when the first human warships finally emerged from the shadows, the galaxy would learn a truth it had, ignored for too long. Humanity was never prey. Humanity was the hunter that waited, patient and silent, until the right moment to strike. The council chamber had not calmed since the first shocking proposal. Rumors of secret human warships had turned the atmosphere into something sharp. Like a blade pressed against every throat, some ambassadors demanded proof, others demanded war, and a few begged for caution, but all voices went silent when the Supreme Speaker announced, "A representative from Earth has arrived." The doors, at the far end of the chamber, slid open with a deep metallic groan. From the shadowed hallway stepped a single figure, human, tall, plain in appearance compared to the jeweled robes of alien leaders. His clothing was simple black fabric, his boots worn from travel, his face unreadable, yet his eyes sharp as steel. He walked with steady steps, unhurried, as if the stares of thousands of alien eyes did not touch him. As he reached the center platform, he looked up at the chamber filled with species far older, far larger, far richer than his own people. For a moment, silence ruled. The council members leaned forward, waiting for excuses, for begging, for weakness. They expected the human to defend Earth with apologies, to plead for peace. Instead, the man spoke with a voice calm, firm, and echoing. "My name is Marcus Hale, envoy of Earth. You speak of striking humanity. You speak of destroying us before we grow too strong. You believe us weak because we are new to the stars." He paused, letting his words sink into the silence. His eyes swept across the crowd, piercing like fire through fog. "You are wrong," he said simply. The words dropped like stones into water, rippling across the chamber. Zorthan of the Carrick Dominion leaned forward, his golden eyes flashing. "And what would humanity do, Envoy Hale, if the council decided to strike? Would you beg? Would you run? Or would you hide behind your secret fleet?" Whispers rushed through the chamber, but Hale did not flinch. He looked directly at Zorthan, his face hard as stone. "If you strike at humanity, you will awaken something you cannot control," he answered. The chamber stirred. Some laughed bitterly. Others shifted uneasily. The elder of the Threlly leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with recognition. He whispered, "He speaks the truth." Hale continued, his voice unwavering. "Humanity has faced extinction more times than you can count. We have fought each other. We have burned our own world. We have endured fire, ice, famine, and plague. And yet, we are still here, stronger than before. Do you think alien fleets frighten us? No. You cannot frighten what has lived with death as a neighbor since its birth." The words struck deep. For some aliens, it sounded like madness. For others, it sounded like prophecy. One counselor, a serpent-bodied diplomat, hissed with amusement. "Big words for a small world. You think yourself equal to us? We have ruled the stars for thousands of years." Hale's gaze shifted to her, calm but cutting. "And yet, in those thousands of years, you still fear a people who have only just begun. Why? Because deep down you know the truth. We will not bow, we will not kneel. If you come with war, then you will find war like none you have ever known." The chamber erupted again. Some voices shouted for silence. Others roared in anger. The Supreme Speaker's staff banged against the floor, sparks of silver light crackling through the chamber until the noise fell. The Speaker's voice was heavy. "Envoy Hale, do you come to threaten the Council?" Hale shook his head slowly. "No, I come to warn you. Humanity does not seek war. We seek peace, trade, friendship. But if you bring fire to our world, we will not only survive. We will rise from the ashes and carry the fire back to you." The final words echoed through the hall. "Carry the fire back to you." A shiver passed through many who heard them. It was not the sound of arrogance but of certainty. Zorthan sneered, but his eyes flickered with unease. He had expected weakness, not defiance. He had expected fear, not steel. The elder of the Threlly closed his eyes, whispering, "Yes, yes, just as I warned." The chamber fell into chaos again. Some calling Hale's words a bluff, others whispering they had seen the same strength in human history. Ambition clashed with dread, greed wrestled with caution. But no one could deny what had been spoken. Humanity's answer was clear. Strike them and the galaxy would regret it. And somewhere in the void between stars, the secret fleet of Earth waited in silence, its cannons loaded, its engines burning softly, not yet seen, not yet unleashed. The council may have laughed, they may have argued, but deep inside, every ambassador left that chamber with a single thought echoing in their mind. If we strike at humanity, will we survive the fire that comes after? The words of the human envoy still hung in the air like smoke after fire. Strike us and you will awaken something you cannot control. For many in the chamber, those words burned into memory. For others, they were brushed aside as empty threats. But all could feel the tension. Thick, heavy, impossible to escape. The Supreme Speaker called for order. Her silver staff rang out 3 times. A hush spread slowly across the chamber. Thousands of eyes turned toward her. Waiting, it is time, she declared, her voice cold. We must decide. Shall we prepare a strike against humanity or shall we stay our hand? Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. The moment had come. A choice that would shape the fate of countless worlds. Zorthan of the Carrick Dominion rose first, his golden robes gleaming. His voice rang with fire. Council members, do not be deceived by human tricks. They claim peace, but they build fleets in shadows. They claim weakness, but their envoys' words drip with arrogance. They are dangerous. If we do not act now, we will regret it later. Strike them before they strike us. Cheers came from his supporters, pounding their claws and fists against the stone desks. Their voices rose in a wave. Strike them. Strike them now. But others stood in opposition. The elder of the Threlly, frail but unshaken, raised his trembling claw. Fools, he said bitterly. Do you not hear yourselves? You speak of destroying a species for fear of what they might become. You would turn suspicion into war. You would ignite the fire with your own hands. His words drew silence for a moment. But then laughter broke out from younger delegates. They are one planet, scoffed a scaled general. One planet against the might of the galaxy. What fire can they bring against us? The elder's eyes darkened. A fire you cannot imagine. The chamber shook with arguments. Shouts filled the air. Some begged for peace. Some demanded war. Others whispered of opportunity. Lands to conquer. Resources to plunder. A rising species to crush before it rose. The speaker slammed her staff again. The council will vote, she announced. Prepare your decisions. The lights dimmed. Silence fell heavy as death. Each delegate pressed their claw, their hand, their limb against the glowing orbs before them. Red for war, blue for peace, one by one. The tall spires at the center of the chamber began to glow. Red, blue, red, red, blue. The colors rose like flames, and the chamber watched in breathless silence. The elder of the Threlly closed his eyes. His claw pressed firmly on blue. A few scattered lights joined his, but more and more spires blazed with red. Ambassadors shouted as results climbed higher. Red swallowed blue. Fear and greed overwhelmed reason. Finally, the last spire glowed. The chamber lit with crimson light. The vote was complete. The speaker's voice carried the weight of history. The council has decided humanity will be struck. Our fleets will prepare. For a moment, the hall erupted. Cheers, roars, pounding fists of victory. Zorthan stood tall, his smile sharp. As a blade, his voice boomed above the chaos. History will remember this day, the day the council chose strength over fear. But in the shadows, not all celebrated. The elder of the Threlly lowered his head, whispering words only he could hear. No. History will remember this as the day madness ruled. A few others sat in silence, their faces pale, their eyes troubled. They had voted red, but already doubt gnawed at their hearts. They had seen the envoy's calm warning. They had heard his certainty. Deep down, they feared they had voted for their own destruction. Outside the chamber, news of the decision spread like wildfire through the station. Messengers carried the outcome across the stars. Fleets began shifting. Admirals started planning. Soldiers sharpened their blades and loaded their cannons, but the message also traveled elsewhere. In hidden channels across encrypted lines, it reached Earth. In the command hall of the secret shipyards, Commander Elias Rourke stood over the glowing table of star maps when the signal arrived. His officer's voice was tight. "Sir, confirmation from the Council. They voted for war." The room fell silent. Every officer stared at Rourke, their faces pale but determined. Rourke's jaw tightened. He looked at the projection of Earth, glowing blue and fragile among the stars. Then his gaze shifted to the hulking shadow of the Defiance, still waiting in orbit. "So be it," he said quietly. "They have chosen madness, now we must show them what humanity truly is." He turned sharply. "Prepare the fleet. Alert every hidden yard. Every ship must be ready. If they come to strike us, they will find not prey, but predators." His officers saluted. Fear still lingered in their eyes, but beneath it burned something else. Resolve. The vote of madness had been cast. The path to war had been chosen. And somewhere, in the silence between stars, destiny sharpened its blade, waiting for the clash that would shake the galaxy. The void between stars was silent, cold and endless. Yet in that silence, fleets moved, great shadows sliding across the dark. Hundreds of alien warships, sleek cruisers, massive carriers, swarms of strike craft marched toward the Sol system, their weapons charged, their banners glowing with the colors of the Council's empires. The admirals on those bridges were confident. Their crews sang songs of victory. They believed Earth would fall quickly, like a stone crushed under the weight of a mountain, but humanity had been waiting. In the dark edges of the asteroid belt, ships powered down their lights, cloaked under fields of silence. Hidden cannons aimed at the approaching fleet. On the surface of the moon, bunkers opened, missiles readied, and orbiting far above Earth itself, the Defiance and her sister ships awakened, their engines burning like blue fire. Commander Elias Rourke stood at the center of the Defiance's bridge. His hands were clasped behind his back, his eyes locked on the tactical display. "They're coming straight into the belt," his officer reported. "No scouts, no caution, they expect us to run." Rourke's lips curled into a grim smile. "Then let's show them what it means to underestimate humanity." The alien fleet surged forward, banners glowing, cannons hot. At first they saw nothing, only silence, empty space, and the faint shine of rocks. Then the first asteroid lit up. Missiles streaked out of its surface like fireflies from the dark. They tore through the void, slamming into the lead alien ships. Explosions rippled across the fleet. Metal screamed, flames bloomed, dozens of alien craft shattered before they could even fire a shot. Panic flashed across the alien comms. Admirals barked orders, fighters scrambled, but it was already too late. From the shadows, humanity's fleet emerged, sleek warships with sharp lines and hungry guns. Rail cannons thundered, tearing through enemy shields. Frigates darted in and out, cutting through larger cruisers with vicious precision. The aliens had expected prey. Instead, they had stumbled into a predator's trap. On the bridge of a council, flagship Admiral Vacor slammed his claws against the console. Impossible. They should not have these ships. But the truth was burning before his eyes. Humans had not been idle. They had not been weak. They had prepared, they had studied, they had waited for this moment. Back on the Defiance, Rourke's voice was cold and steady. "Concentrate fire on their carriers, cut off their fighters, break their formation." Cannons roared, missiles streaked, human ships moved with strange, unpredictable patterns, weaving through enemy lines. Some alien captains tried to chase them, only to be lured into crossfire, blasted apart before they realized their mistake. "Status?" Rourke demanded. "Enemy fleet down by 20%. His officer replied. "We've lost 2 frigates, 1 cruiser damaged, but our line is holding." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Good. Keep pressing." The battle raged on. Flames lit the Dark alien ships cracked open like eggshells under the relentless assault. Humanity's tactics were not elegant. They were brutal, efficient, merciless. For every ship the aliens destroyed, 3 more of theirs fell. For every trap they tried to set, humanity had already set 2. Across the comms, alien voices grew desperate. "Retreat! Retreat now!" "No, hold the line. They fight like demons." Zorthan, far from the battlefield, received the reports in disbelief. His advisors stammered, "My lord, the humans, they are not breaking. They are winning." His golden eyes darkened with rage but also fear. The madness of the councils, vote had borne its fruit and it was bitter. Back in the void, the Defiance cut through the chaos like a blade. Her cannons tore open a massive dreadnought, explosions blooming in a chain reaction. Rourke's voice echoed across the fleet. "Hold the line, push them back, show them what humanity is made of." And humanity did. Hours later, silence returned to the battlefield. Wreckage drifted in the void. Broken alien hulls glowing with dying fire. Human ships floated bloodied but alive. Battered, yet unbowed. The first strike had failed. The galaxy had witnessed something it could never forget. The first fire of contact. And the truth that humanity was no victim. Humanity was a storm waiting to be unleashed. In the council chambers far away, messengers stumbled in with reports. Their voices, trembling. The fleet has been shattered. The humans stand. Silence fell heavier than stone. The counselors stared at one another, disbelief carved into their faces. Some whispered in fear, others clenched their fists in denial. But none could escape the truth. The first contact fire had not destroyed humanity. It had ignited them. The battlefield was quiet now, silent except for the drifting wrecks of alien ships. Broken hulls floated through the void, glowing with fading fire. The once proud fleet of the Galactic Council was no more. On the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Elias Rourke stood tall. His face was worn, his uniform marked with smoke and ash, yet his eyes burned with steady fire. His crew looked at him not with fear, but with pride. "Enemy retreat confirmed," his officer reported. "Their flagship jumped out of the system. The survivors are running for their lives." Rourke nodded slowly. "Let them run. They will carry the message better than we ever could." Because the truth was simple. Humanity had survived, against impossible odds, against numbers that should have crushed them. They had stood, they had fought, and they had won. The news spread faster than light, carried by fleeing ships, intercepted by traders, whispered across stations. It raced through the galaxy like wildfire. In distant colonies, children whispered the name human with awe. In military halls, generals studied reports with wide eyes. In royal courts, rulers sat in silence, unable to believe what they read. Everywhere the same words were spoken. The humans defeated the council fleet. In the Grand Council chamber, the mood was darker than a tomb. Delegates who had voted for war sat in silence, their faces pale. The chamber that once roared with arrogance now trembled with fear. Zorthan of the Carrick Dominion stood furious. His golden eyes burned, his voice echoed. "This is not over. One battle does not decide a war." But even his supporters looked uneasy. They had seen the reports, they had heard the desperate cries of their admirals. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was predator. The elder of the Threlly rose slowly. His frail form shook, but his voice was iron. "I warned you," he said, his eyes sweeping across the chamber. "I told you they would not break. I told you they would rise from fire, and you laughed. You called it myth. And now you see." His words fell like hammer blows. No one answered, no one dared. Far from the council, in a lonely station orbiting a red dwarf star, merchants whispered among themselves, "If humans can defeat the council's fleets, what chance do we have if they ever turn their gaze upon us?" In hidden military bases, commanders rewrote their plans, shifting resources, preparing for a galaxy where humanity was no longer a weakling, but a power to be feared. And on Earth, the people stood together under the same sky. News had reached every city, every settlement. Humanity had faced its first great trial among the stars, and had endured. Commander Rourke addressed his fleet in a broadcast. His voice carried across every ship, every crew. They came to break us, but we did not break. They came to burn us, but we did not burn. They came with arrogance, and we answered with defiance. Remember this day, remember it well. For today the galaxy has learned a truth they will never forget. Humanity stands unbowed. His words were met with cheers loud and raw, bursting from tired throats. Humanity had paid in blood, ships destroyed, lives lost. But in that sacrifice they had earned something priceless. Respect and fear the galaxy would never look at. Earth the same way again. Some would try to strike again, yes, others would try to ally. Many would watch from the shadows, but none could deny the lesson. Only madness would explain striking at humanity, for humanity was not a flame to be smothered. Humanity was the fire itself, and the fire had now spread into the stars, in the halls of power, in the darkest corners of space, in whispers and in records. The story would be told again and again. The day the Council struck at Earth and the galaxy trembled in return. And so the legend of humanity began, not with surrender, not with fear, but with victory carved in the silence of space.